Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. All right, let me see. Need to make a slight adjustment here. Let's see now. All right. Should have checked before, but anyways. Let me see now. Give me a sec. I'm gonna go back out real quick, just for a moment. I think I forgot to check something before I came on here. Oh yeah, I forgot to check a few things here. All right, I'm gonna be real quick. Hopefully I sound a little better now. I've got my mic wasn't as loud as because I rushed on here because of the fact I um wasn't quite ready. So anyways, let me see now. So I gotta do one more quick thing, then we will probably just get right into talking about. So I'm gonna go off camera one more time here. I'll be right back. All right, so just kind of the way these new buttons all figuring out here. Um, welcome to the Mikestand, everybody. Today is Friday, of course, Friday, July the 11th, 2025. If you haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. Oh, with that being said, of course, I'll actually get right into talking about what's on tap for tonight. So, what is on tap for tonight is we're going to have one article we're going to go over today. That article will be from Bounding into Comics. Talking about a Mobile Suit Gundam creator pushes back against Mars colonization. So we'll see what that's all about. Also, of course, we'll have an extended wrestling wrap up tonight as this weekend is quite big here as we have quite a number of big events happening over the weekend, including, of course, tonight with Supercard of Honor from Ring of Honor. All in tomorrow we have from AEW, W and WE will also be doing a number of events, including of course NXT's Great American Bash. NXT's Great American Bash, Saturday night's main event, and also and also and also Saturday night's main event, and on Sunday Evolution. Well, yeah, Evolution on Sunday. So, anyways, I want to check one more thing here. All right. Alrighty then. I'm just checking a few things here on the settings front. Okay. So, anyways, all right. Want to check one more. Try to do one more thing here before we get started. Started in a moment here. So, let me just. All right, so I'm back now. Let's see. All right, well, there we go. Alrighty then. So, alright, so that got all that taken care of. That's good. Alright, so again, a friendly reminder to everybody, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, so we can get some more friendly people in here to engage, I'd appreciate it. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, with that being said here, why don't we go ahead and let's get started. Go ahead and grab the article we're going to go over tonight. Alrighty then, so here we go. Mobile Suit Gundam creator pushes back against Mars colonization, says proponents, quote, lack the imagination to grasp the vastness of space, unquote. Article by Spencer McCauley, published earlier today. So let's get into this. Before I do, I'm going to try one last time, see if there's anybody I didn't see before I could invite to join us. All right, yeah, I guess I can't be too surprised. It's Friday night after all. Alrighty then. So, anyways, let's get into the article here. So, despite his seminal mecha series being arguably one of the biggest contributors to its adoption into the public consciousness, Mobile Suit Gundam creator Yoshiyuki Tomino not only vehemently disagrees with the idea that humanity will someday colonize Mars, but also believes that those who genuinely believe we will are really ignorant to the realities of interstellar migration. The veteran anime director weighed in on the idea of Mars colonization while making a speaking appearance at the recently held 2025 edition of Spacetide, an annual Tokyo-based astronomical conference centered on, quote, the practical applications of space technology in specific sectors such as agriculture, urban planning, and national security, unquote. Discussing the general topic of space travel alongside Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, or I guess JAPA, or no, I'm sorry, Jaya. Um, Senior advisor Dr. Yoshifumi um, Tomino told the crowd um, Tomino told the crowd of aerospace professionals that after spending roughly 20 years pondering the ins and outs of a potential space-based human expansion, he had come to the stark conclusion that, quote, humans cannot live in space, unquote. Quote, the people cheerfully talking about migrating to Mars don't understand how harsh space really is, unquote, said Tomino, per the recap of his um, talk um, provided by Japanese news outlet, the Sankei Shimbun. Quote, they lack the ability to even imagine the distance between Earth and space. If you send a rocket to Mars, how will you refuel it for the return trip? There are no supply bases over there. Anyone talking about sending humans to Mars without considering this is an amateur, unquote. Quote, I never said any of this while making Gundam, unquote. He added. Well, also though, in Gundam, we've basically in Gundam they'd already figured out all those scenarios. That's what it was coming down to. They had eventually, and I think we would eventually, if we were really serious about it, I'm sure we would, figure out just exactly how. Because yeah, he's got a point there. You need to have some planning into it if you're gonna like sit there and try to colonize space. He brings up probably one of the more practical aspects, which is the idea that you're gonna need to set up like fueling bases, every few thousand miles or whatever, you know. Um, but um, from there, Tomino presented his audience with a possible solution to this logistical issue in the form of a space elevator, quote unquote, a clip of the orbital elevator from Mobile Suit Gundam 00 serving as his visual example. Quote, this elevator isn't a single car unit. It's made up of 5 cars, um, unquoted, he concluded. Quote, without something on this scale, logistics wouldn't work. And if logistics don't work, then neither can of social any of any kind of social life, unquote. hmm I mean, it's still possible, but as he's making a good point here in that there's a lot of logistical issues you'd have to kind of try to get through before you could even worry too much about colonizing space. Hey, Metal, here's somebody who always has a way of giving some good input. Let's see what you got here. I really liked Mobile Suit Gundam 00, one of my favorite series in the franchise. I know it is just an analogy, but the space elevator was the dumbest part of the show. Uh, well, yeah. Well, I think in this case, though, what he's talking about is why it would be a lot more difficult to colonize space than we think it might be. You know, he's actually talking at like a aerospace convention about the idea of how to use space technology in aspects of everyday life, like urban planning, agriculture, and national security. You know, so that's what this article is talking about here. So, anyways, getting back to the article here. Unfortunately for the not insignificant demographic of space hopeful futurist Gundam fans, this is not the first time Tomino has voiced his lack of confidence in interstellar human migration. Asked about the impact Mobile Suit Gundam Char's counterattack had on the trajectory of his career during a July 2024 interview with Japan news outlet Eradot, um, the director admitted, quote, "There is one thing that became clear to me after making films for about 10 years, from Mobile Suit Gundam to Char's counterattack. I realized that I was simulating that what would happen if humans went out into space to live. My conclusion for this is that it is absolutely impossible for humans to leave the Earth and live in space. However, if I denied this, I would not be able to create, in smaller quotes here, space battle stories, so I could continue to create the Gundam series." Quote, "Because of this, some people seem to think that I have a positive view of human life in space, but it is quite the opposite," unquote. He explained, quote, "Humanity must continue to live on this earth, and that is why we must take care of the Earth's environment. There's no way out for humanity in space. I have been making a series called Gundam Reconquista in G since 2014. And in my recent works, I have brought aspects of my true feelings more to the forefront." Before I go on to the next part of the article here, let me see it. Space elevators are logistical nightmares. They are more trouble than they are worth. How did I know you were going to probably say something like that? I had a feeling you were going to probably say something like that, Metal. That does pretty much sound like something very logical there. Private space development has started worldwide, and some people like Elon Musk are advocating space migration, quote unquote. Tomino continued, quote, "However, I am skeptical about how serious they are," unquote. Well, okay, what he has to also remember here is that even before he developed the gun, because as we all know, as I know in particular, because I did watch it a couple months back or rewatch it a couple months back, Mobile Suit Gundam, the very first series, of course, the anime came out back in 1979. But long before that, people were already dreaming of what life would be like if we did venture into space. I mean, Metal, as being one of my regular co-hosts, we've seen some stories of that kind of idea of people traveling just within our own solar system, no less going further out. And of course, you've had series also like Star Trek and Star Wars and Battlestar Galactica and Buck Rogers that have all um, kind of even furthered that point. So you know, quote, perhaps they know that it is impossible, but I think they are just advocating a theme to make space development a business, unquote, he opined. Quote, even if there is no space migration, the space business will continue to move forward in areas such as launching more satellites and procuring resources from space, in the sense that space development is actually gaining momentum. One might say that humanity is obsessed with, in smaller quote, capitalism of the 21st century, in smaller quote. Yeah, but I think Tomino here seems to be downplaying the idea that there's a possibility we could. I mean, granted, there's a lot of logistical issues. We've talked about the space elevator aspect of it. A lot of logistical issues that come from this, but yet, if we didn't think that the idea was feasible, we wouldn't be putting up space shuttles and satellites and all that into space. Obviously satellites, are going to show us just how much space there is that we can colonize. You know, um, but considering that how far the planets are from each other, it is kind of hard to understand. It is kind of hard to believe. Well, how are we going to like colonize Mars? Let's say within our lifetime, or colonize Venus, or colonize Jupiter or Mercury within our lifetime. You know, um, it's possible. Like anything is possible, but not everything is probable, right? Obviously, one of the first points he made when we started reading this article was that well, yeah, what are we going to do to, like, let's say, get the spaceship back if we were to try to travel to Mars on it? Because there aren't any, as he put it, there aren't any like refueling stations along the way there, right? And then that's where we got the whole concept of the space elevator kind of situation. You know, I mean, you could argue that the space elevator is kind of like a train, I guess, travels from planet to planet. You know, but we've had a lot of fantasies out there where we've had situations where space travel is possible and colonization, and and even like for example, Rankin Bass did Thundercats and Silverhawks in particular had more of the idea. In fact, the Galaxy of Limbo in Silverhawks, they basically gave the idea or tried to kind of say the idea that Galaxy of Limbo actually does have an atmosphere, because you see a lot of the, even though you do have some that are partly metal, partly real, or fully metal, like you have characters like Buzzsaw, Poker Face, and and Mumbo Jumbo, who maybe, and Monstar in his transformed form, who maybe don't need to, who are metal, so maybe they don't breathe. But then you have characters like Hardware, Windhammer, um, Spike, the Rhino, the Bandit 3, basically, who seem to be able to breathe in space. So, so that's how you would kind of recognize all that. So, anyways, let's finish up this article, then we're gonna get into the wrestling wrap up here. All right, so quote, but again, I do not think that space is the way out for the human race, unquote. He noted, quote, we have to think about how we can continue to live on Earth forever. And I believe that the theoretical struggle over how to confront the, in smaller quotes, capitalism of the 21st century, which is trying to find a way out of the universe, will continue for about 200 years, unquote. Yeah. Again, space migration may not be impossible. It's still probable, but not likely possible. Because again, first off, of course, there is no oxygen in space, so you can't breathe in it. And then how would you colonize other planets? Like I don't think Jupiter could be colonized because Jupiter is more or less just one big storm cloud, if anything, that is just held together by some form of gravity. There is, I don't think, an actual land surface on Jupiter. Now, Mars, we've seen, yeah, there is a land surface. I think there's probably one on Venus as well. So, and then what happens, of course, when we get beyond our solar system, beyond the Milky Way as well. And I know Tomino here was also talking about the idea of, we should probably focus more on learning how to take care of our own planet rather than worrying about trying to move to another one. Now, that comment actually reminds me of an old Super Friends cartoon, one where you did actually have a planet that had basically polluted itself so badly that the people who were used to living in very hot weather, had basically blocked out their sun to the point to where they went from normal living conditions on their planet was probably like 120 degrees Fahrenheit for us, dropping all the way down to what would be like 50 degrees Fahrenheit, which would be fine for us, but not for them. So, but the idea of, okay, we trashed our planet, and so we're going to move on to another planet and colonize that, and then with the possibility that we might actually, just mess up that planet too. I don't think there are people, especially if the planet is already inhabited by another species or something like that. They cared too kindly for us coming to their planet to mess up their planet. So, anyways, that's all the articles we're going to do tonight. So now I do want to get into the wrestling wrap up. All right. So now we're going to move on to the wrestling wrap up. As I said, we do have quite a bit to go over, so we're going to probably just try to shoot the real quick because, as I said, we have quite a bit to go over. First off, we're going to look back to last night's happenings as last night. AEW had a very special edition of Collision due to the fact that they're going to have All In tomorrow, which we'll talk a bit more about. Ring of Honor, and of course, Ring of Honor and TNA Impact were last night. So we're going to go through all of that, and then get ready to move on from there. So on last night's AEW Collision, basically the go home collision before this weekend's All In pay per view, from the Curtis Colwell Center in Garland, Texas. The opening match saw the team of Paragon of Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong defeat the Don Callis family members of Protostar Kyle Fletcher and Roppongi Vice, or RPG Vice as they're calling, of Rocky Romero, of Trent Beretta and Rocky Romero. This, of course, is in part and parcel to the prelude to Adam Cole's title defense of the TNT title. So again, all of these matches are more or less in preparation for this weekend's event. Mystico defeated Beast Mordos in just under 11 minutes. The Outrunners and Jet Speed, the Outrunners, Turbo Floyd and Truth Magnum, teaming up with Jet Speed of Speedball Mike Bailey and the Jet Kevin Knight, defeated the teams of FTR and the Patriarchy, FTR of Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler, and Patriarchy of Christian Cage and Nick Wayne, who of course had Kip Sabian, Mother Wayne, and Stokely Hathaway on their corner. Gabe Kidd with Marina Shafir in his corner defeated Katsuyori Shibata. In an 8-woman tag team match, Queen Aminata, Willow Nightingale, Mina Shirakawa, and Thunder Rosa defeated Athena, Megan Bain, Julia Hart, and Thekla, with, of course, Billy Starks, Sky Blue, and Penelope Ford all in their corners. So that's all that happened on last night's Collision in preparation for tomorrow night's, and we will get into that pretty soon here. So moving on to the next piece, to the next thing from last night, which was, of course, move on to looking at TNA Impact. They continue to prepare for next Sunday's Slammiversary event. On last night's Impact, with Tom Hannafin, Matthew Rainwell on commentary, and Tessa Blanchard coming in a non-title tag team match. The TNA Knockouts World Knockouts Tag Team Champion, the Elegance brand of Ash and Heather by Elegance, with M by Elegance and the Personal Concierge in their corner, defeated Harley Hudson and Mila Grace. In a 6-man tag team match, Cedric Alexander, the Great Hands, defeated Mustafa Ali, defeated members of Mustafa Ali's Secret Service in just under 3 minutes. In a women's tag team match, TNA Knockout Champion Masha Slamovich teamed with Lei Ying Lee with Zara Brookside in their corner to take on Fatal Influence, Fallon Henry, and NXT Women's Champion JC Jane. Steve Macklin successfully defended the international title in a 3-way match over Jake Something and Mance Warner. Indy Hartwell defeated Victoria Crawford in a 1-on-1 match. In an 8-man tag match, as all 4 teams involved in the 4-way match for the TNA World Tag Team title coming up at Slammiversary. The Nemeth, Nick and Ryan Nemeth, the TNA World Tag Team Champions, teamed up with First Class AJ Francis and Casey Navarro to defeat the Hardys, Jeff and Maya Hardy, and the Rascals, Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz. So that's all for TNA right now. Now looking also to back to last night's Ring of Honor show. On last night's Ring of Honor, basically the go home Ring of Honor for tonight's Super Card of Honor, which was from the Accesso Stowaware Center in Kent, Washington. CMLL's Atlantis and Atlantis Jr. defeated the Spanish announced project of Angelico Cervendico in just over 6 minutes. Adam Priest defeated Aaron Solo. In a 6-man tag, the Dark Order of Evil Uno, Alex Reynolds and John Silver. John Silver made his recent return from injury. Defeated the Pledges, those guys who are trying to pledge the frat house stable of Alan Breeze, Danger Ross, and Livewire Charlie. In a Pure Rules match in preparation for the Pure Rules tournament, Diona Peraza defeated Rachel Ellering. In the main event in an 8-man tag match, you saw basically the Ring of Honor World Tag Team and 6-man tag teams combine their forces as Dustin Rhodes with his Ring of Honor World Tag Team partner Sammy Guevara as the Sons of Texas and his 6-man World Tag Team Championship partners Von Erich, Marshall and Ross Von Erich, team up to take on the grizzled young veterans of James Drake and Zach Gibson, and the premier athletes of Aria Davari and Tony Nese with Mark Sterling in their corner. So now that's all that happened on last night as we lead into tonight. As on tonight's, so the first thing we'll talk about, of course, is we'll look to look ahead to tonight's SmackDown, as tonight's SmackDown will be the go home SmackDown before tomorrow night's Saturday night's main event. So tonight's SmackDown will be from the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, Tennessee. Slated on the card for tonight, R-Truth will be taking on Aleister Black. And in the match for the WWE Tag Team titles, the Street Profits, Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford, will be defending the titles against the White Six duo of Dexter Lumis and Eric Rowan. So also coming up tonight, on tonight's so Ring of Honor tonight will be doing its Super Card of Honor on the 0 hour pre-show, which is on YouTube. Check it out on YouTube right now. They're coming from the Esports Stadium in Arlington, Texas, with Ian Riccaboni and Caprice Coleman on commentary. So the pre-show, the 0 hour pre-show, we'll see Jay Lethal take on Blake Christian in a singles match. In a 6-man tag match, the Dark Order of Evil Uno, Alex Reynolds, and John Schuyler will be taking on the Frat House of Griff Garrison, Cole Carter, and Preston Vance with Jack Jameson in their corner. Diamante takes on Lady Frost in a women's match. And in a tag team match, in a follow-up to that 8-man tag match we just talked about, actually even the Dark Order Frat House match was a follow-up to that match as well. The Von Erichs, Marshall and Ross Von Erich, the sons of Kevin Von Erich, and 2/3 of the Ring of Honor World 6-Man Tag Champion, will be taking on the premier athletes of Arya Davari and Tony Nese. So that's the pre-show. That's basically a 0-hour pre-show, which is on YouTube. So now getting to the main course, as it were. Getting to the main course, which is the Super Card of Honor, the main event of the Super Card of Honor, which will be live on Ring of Honor Wrestling.com, also from the Esports Stadium in Arlington. Nick Wayne will be defending the Ring of Honor World Television title versus CMLL's Titan, who, and albeit it is written as Titan, it's pronounced Titan because it is the Hispanic. It is a Hispanic pronunciation, as it were. Oops. I don't want that. Just trying to get the little thing on. So I don't know what happened, but apparently the Ring of Honor Women's World Television title has apparently been vacated, I think, because they're crowning an interim Ring of Honor Women's World Television title holder for the time being. And in this particular matchup, you have Tokyo Joshi Pro's Miyu Yamashita in a four-way match here for the interim Ring of Honor Women's World Television title. Miyu Yamashita, Tokyo Joshi Pro, Yuka Sakazaki, Mina Shirakawa, and CMLL's Persephone. And then Lee Moriarty will be defending the Ring of Honor Pure title against Blue Panther. In a match for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles tonight, the Sons of Texas will be taking on Sons of Texas with Sammy Guevara and Dustin Rhodes will be taking on the Infantry of Carly Bravo and Sean Dean, who the Infantry, I think a couple weeks ago on Ring of Honor Club defeated the Top Flight to become the number one contenders and earn this title shot. Bandito will be defending the Ring of Honor World title against Don Callis family's Konosuke Takeshita. And then the main event set for it is Athena will be defending the Ring of Honor Women's World title against Thunder Rosa. So that's all we got for tonight. So now moving ahead, of course, to tomorrow night, to tomorrow. Well, tomorrow through big day tomorrow, as WWE will be doing two big shows: NXT's Great American Bash and Saturday night's main event later on in the night. Saturday night's main event will be going directly up against AEW's All In. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's on tap for those shows. And then, of course, Sunday will be the Evolution pay-per-view from WWE. But first off, looking ahead to tomorrow's Great American Bash, NXT's Great American Bash, from the Center Stage Theater in Atlanta, Georgia, this premium live event, which will be airing on Netflix. Center Stage Theater is where WCW used to record many of their programs, many of their syndicated programs. So slated for the Great American Bash tomorrow afternoon. Fatal Influences, Fallon Henley and JC Jane, who's the current holder of the current NXT Women's Championship, will be defending the title against, actually, they'll be in a tag team match tomorrow night versus Jordan Grace and Blake Monroe. Of course, Jane and Grace will also be competing at Evolution. We'll talk more about that a little bit. Javon Evans will be taking on Jasper Troy tomorrow afternoon at in a Falls Count Anywhere's match for the NXT North American title. Ethan Page defends the title against Ricky Saints. In a match for the WWE NXT Women's North American title, Sol Ruka defends against Izzy Dame. And then in the main event for Great American Bash, Oba Femi defends against Yoshiki Inamura. Now, there's been a lot of criticism about WWE trying to counter program and therefore sabotage AEW's efforts too, and that's why this stuff is also pretty big. With that, now for tomorrow night, moving on to tomorrow night with Saturday night's main event. On Saturday night's main event on NBC, Randy Orton is set to take on Drew McIntyre. Seth Rollins will be taking on LA Knight. And Gunther will be taking on Goldberg. He'll be defending the WWE World Heavyweight title match in what is said is going to be Goldberg's retirement match. So, and there's been a lot of criticism here on that as well. So, let's see now. Anyways. Alrighty then. So, anyways, getting back to talking about what's going to happen also. So, and then also tomorrow night, AEW will be having its All In pay-per-view. So let's take a peek at what will be going down there. Now, the All In pay-per-view will also have a 0-hour pre-show. See if they've signed anything up. So, of course, tomorrow night's 0 hour for All In will, of course, also be on YouTube. They'll be at the Globe. So, All In will be at the Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas. Tomorrow night on the pre-show, FTR, Dax Harwood, and Cash Wheeler with Stokely in their corner will be taking on the Outrunners of Togo Floyd and Truth Magnum, and then the main event for the show will be an 8-man tag team match in which Big Boom AJ will be teaming with conglomeration members of Tomohiro Ishii, Kyle O'Reilly, and Hologram to take on the Don Callis family of Hechicero, Lance Archer, and RPG Vice of Trent Beretta and Rocky Romero, with Don Callis in their corner. Big Justice and the Rizzler in the corner of Big Boom, AJ, and the conglomeration. So now, after that, of course, will be the main pay-per-view of All In, also coming from Globe Life Field. There'll be a men's and women's casino gauntlet battle royal with the winners getting a contract for a world title shot. The first members to engage in the men's casino, Mark Briscoe has the number 1 spot. MJF has the number 2, and Mystico was given the number 3 spot. So these 3 men will be starting off. Now, for those of you who don't know, the casino gauntlet casino gauntlet matches in this case is you have 2 or 3, and in the case of the men's match, 3, but usually we'll have 2 individuals start off. People will come in at random intervals, and the match continues to go until somebody gets pinned or submits, till there's a victory. So in the men's, because the first three involved will be Mark Briscoe, MJF, and Mystico, and then the women's casino gauntlet match, the first two will be involved. The first person will be involved will be Chris Statlander. The second will be Megan Bayne. In a tag team match that has some high stakes, Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland will be taking on the Young Bucks, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson. If the Young Bucks lose, they'll have to give up their positions as EVPs of AEW. If Swerve and Ospreay lose, they will be forbidden from challenging for the world title for 1 year. So there's quite a bit at stake in that tag team match. In a three-way match, the AEW World Tag Team titles, the Hurt Syndicate of Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley. Shelton Benjamin, who on Wednesday celebrated his 50th birthday, who will have MJF and MVP in their corner, will be defending AEW World Tag Team titles against Jet Speed of Speedball Mike Bailey and the Jet Kevin Knight, and the Patriarchy of Christian Cage and Nick Wayne. Adam Cole of Paragon will be defending the TNT title against Don Callis family member Protostar Kyle Fletcher. In a match I think was just signed this past week, or this past few days here. The AEW World Trios titles will be on the line as the champions, the Ops of Powerhouse Hobbs, Samoa Joe, and Katsuyori Shibata, will be defending against the Death Riders of Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta and Gabe Kidd. Now, of course, Castagnoli and Yuta had previously won the titles with their partner Pac, but Pac has been out for quite some time. So Gabe Kidd is stepping in to try to help them retake the World Trios titles. Gabe Kidd is also the current IWGP Global Heavyweight Champion as well. And then in a unification match for what is to be established as the AEW Unified title, AEW Continental Champion Kazuchika Okada will be taking on AEW International title Kenny Omega in a match in which the winner will be crowned the first AEW Unified title, basically unifying the two belts. Toni Storm will be defending the AEW Women's World title against Mercedes Moné, and Jon Moxley will be defending the AEW World title against Adam Page in a Texas Death Match. So now we do have one more event to go over real quick here. That is the Evolution pay-per-view this Sunday. As I said, quite a bit of wrestling going on this weekend, so that's why we had to go through all this. So this Sunday's Evolution pay-per-view, which will take place at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. That's also where, of course, and I forgot to mention this before, that's where Saturday night's main event will also be taking place. Opening match will be the Battle Royal, Women's Battle Royal, with, I believe, the woman getting a contract for a shot at one of the future titles, whether that be NXT Women's title, Women's World title, the Women's title. Participating in the Battle Royal include Natalya, Candice LeRae, Nikki Bella, Zelina Vega, Stephanie Baker, Nia Jax, Women's United States Champion Julia, Izzy Dane, Ivy Nile, Lash Legend, Tatum Paxley, Maxine Dupree, Lola Vice, Jada Parker, and Kalani Jordan. In a no-holds-barred match, Naomi will be taking on Jade Cargill. In a fatal four-way for the WWE Women's World Tag Team title, the Judgment Day duo of Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez. Roxanne Perez having recently joined the Judgment Day and filling in for Liv Morgan, will be challenged by Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair, who recently won a number one contenders match on SmackDown. Sol Ruka and Zarya representing NXT, and the Kabuki Warriors of the returning Asuka and Kairi Sane representing Raw. In a match for the NXT Women's title, JC Jane with Fallon Henley and Jasmine Nix in her corner will answer the challenge of Jordan Grace, with the winner of this match going on to defend the NXT, not only defend the NXT championship, but also they'll be challenging for the TNA championship the following Sunday at TNA Slammiversary against Masha Slamovich. In a triple threat match for the women's Intercontinental title, Becky Lynch, the Man, will be defending the belt against Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. Tiffany Stratton is set to defend the WWE Women's title against Trish Stratus, and in the main event, we'll see for the WWE Women's World title, Io Sky will be defending the title against So, as previously noted, the winner of the Battle Royal will receive either a shot at the WWE Women's title or Women's World title at Clash in Paris. So that's all we got in terms of the wrestling wrap up. So that took quite a bit longer than I thought it was. I was hoping that it would, and then I hoped it would. But anyways, so with that being said, now it's time to. I'm gonna try. Give me a quick second. I'm gonna go off camera here for a quick moment. I'll be right back. Gonna try something. All right, I'm back. Now with that, let's go ahead and take a look back. So today is Friday, July the 11th, 2025. So let's take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. So let's see. All right. So first off, I'm going to head back to 2007, which was, of course, 15 years ago today. Or, 18 years ago today. I'm sorry. On this date in the year 2007, the 480th issue of Mad Magazine from EC went on sale on this date back in 2007. It sold for $3.99, with 48 pages. On this date back in 2007, the 480th issue of Mad from EC went on sale on this date back in 2007. So, anyways, moving on to the next piece of niche history, as we move ahead to the year 2010, 15 years ago today. On this date in the year 2010, Total Nonstop Action, TNA as most people know it, held at Victory Road pay-per-view from the TNA Impact Zone in Orlando, Maryland. So in the main event, Rob Van Dam retained the TNA World Heavyweight title over Jeff Hardy, Mr. Anderson, and Abyss in a four-way match. The Motor City Machine Guns defeated Beer Money Incorporated to win the vacant TNA World Tag Team. So the Motor City Machine Guns, of course, were Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, defeating Beer Money Incorporated of Robert Roode and James Storm. You also saw in a steel cage match, Hernandez defeat Matt Morgan. In a title versus career match for the TNA Women's Knockouts Champion, Angelina Love defeated Madison Rayne to become the new champion, having to put up her career in a three-way match. Brother Ray defeated Brother Devon and Jesse Neal. In a match for the TNA X Division title, Douglas Williams defeated Brian Kendrick in an Ultimate X and submission match. And that's all we got for that. So back in 2010, TNA's Victory Road took place. So now, moving ahead to the year 2015, 10 years ago today. 10 years ago today, on this date in 2015, Studio Shizu's The Boy and the Beast premiered in Japanese theaters on this date back in 2015. So 10 years ago today, the Japanese animated adventure fantasy film The Boy and the Beast premiered in Japanese theaters on this date 10 years ago. And finally, did I get it here? Finally, on this day in 2020, 5 years ago today. 5 years ago today. The second season of Amphibia from Disney Television Animation premiered on this date back in 2020. So 5 years ago today, the second season of Amphibia, which was an animated series produced by Disney, premiered on this date back in 2020. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. We'll be back here Sunday, of course, with my co-host Apex from Apex Comics. We'll be looking back to comics that went on sale in June of 1940. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight, and I hope to see everybody back here on Sunday. Bye. Oh, no, that one is okay. Well, at least now I know what that is. And bye.